think something new under the sun.
Hello, you join me today in a city, but it's a city within a city. We're back in Shenzhen and we're on one of the biggest factory sites I've ever been to. This is Build Your Dreams, also known as BYD, and this is fully charged.
Don't forget our great EV giveaway. Subscribe and enter for the chance to win one of several electrifying prizes, including one of 4 electric cars.
So you may remember back in the 90s having a phone with a battery that lasted almost a week. Old Nokia phones, old Motorola phones. Chances were you had one, I had one. The battery in that was from a company that we're here at today called BYD. And since 1995 when they established, they've grown to be an electric superpower. Some quick mega facts. There's 15 million square meters of factory floor space all around China, and they have about 150,000 employees. We're currently sat on their Sky Shuttle, which is their electric monorail. There's no driver, it's completely autonomous, and this is a cheaper solution to building metros in cities. It's built in about 1 year compared to 5, and it's about 1/5 of the cost. So let's take this for a little ride around the BYD campus. So we're here in the nail penetration lab in BYD, and we just saw a very interesting test. Now, in here, there's got 2 stands, one with an NCM battery and one with the BYD blade battery. As you can see, it's very thin. Now with the blade battery, the nail went straight through here, no drama. It got to about between 30 and 60 degrees surface temperature, and that was it. Nail came out, nothing. And that's why this is one of the safest batteries on the market. So you remember those books when you were younger where you saw all of the cutaways of ships and buses and cars, and they were so interesting. This is a real life version of that. This is a cutaway of the E-platform that BYD uses. Now this has the dual motor, so it's got the electric motor at the back, electric motor, and the control module at the front. In the bottom, obviously, you can see the blade battery arrangement. So BYD are using this now for their own cars. But in the future, this can be licensed out to other companies. And there's one company which has signed a deal with BYD to use these in their car, the whole thing, all the tech, the battery, the motors. That's Toyota. This is a Toyota electric car. So I'm here in front of another live data stream because I absolutely love these. So this has got all of the stats about all of the commercial vehicles that BYD have across China. So some stats I want to pick out for you here. So the top one up here, accumulated mileage, that's 4 billion kilometers in the life of the commercial vehicles. 4 billion, that's incredible. At the moment there's 478 charging across China, and this is the map of China, and this is showing all of the commercial vehicles that they have, mostly the buses across China. And currently 35,129 are actually driving right now. Some other stats I just quickly want to point out. Top vehicle mileage for some of the taxis. The top one, it's a Shenzhen car, and it's done over 500,000 kilometers. Right, we're here on the final assembly line, and this is the very first part of the process. So the final assembly line is where all of the components come together to make the finished car, which you'll see a little later on. So at the moment you're seeing the raw body shells, which just been painted, coming down the assembly line, ready to get their first components. The factory does about 400 cars per day, and as you can see at the moment, it's the BYD Han, the electric car, which we'll see the battery going into later. So let's go down the line and see how this happens. And here we are in the second part of the assembly line. Now the car's have had their sunroofs fitted, or their skylights. That was the first step. Now they've actually gone in the air above our heads, and now they're coming all the way down here, and this is where all the electronics are being installed. So not the battery, but all the wiring, everything like that. And they're also getting the protective gear on the outside so the workers don't bump into it and scratch the body. These are the red BYD Hans, look very nice in this colour. And let's go on to the next step because it's very noisy in here. All right, so this part is really exciting because this is really where it becomes a car. So as you can see, the electric motors are being raised into the car. So this is the Tang, this is the SUV, the motor at the front, the motor at the back, both being raised into place. Taking about 8 workers about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes each per car. After this, you're just waiting for the battery, the wheels, and some of the interior, but that is it. This is incredible how quick this happens. Going from a very basic shell to a car essentially just in a few minutes. One statistic I just want to tell you here is so when BYD came out with the Han here, it was a real breath of fresh air for BYD. Previously their cars have been very awkward looking, as I've said many times before, but this time I think they've really hit the nail on the head. This car looks absolutely stunning, and there's a few features around this which are really nice. So obviously they have the Build Your Dreams on the back, which is something they always have. Very sharp LED headlights, large boot space, and they've got this little grille feature here which makes it look a little bit more sporty, I think. 19-inch wheels, and then they've got these flush door handles as well, which pop out really nicely, just like this, and that really helps with the drag coefficient, which I think is about 0.23. The iWays we drove the other week was 0.29, so you can see quite a big difference with this car and bigger SUVs. Okay, so here we are in the first of a few cars that we're going to drive today, and this is their top of the line sedan. This is the BYD Han, and we're going to take it for a little spin around the BYD factory today. Now, first impressions of this, I only sat in this in the Chengdu Auto Show, which was a lovely car to sit in, but it was very busy and I didn't really get a chance to drive it. This is my first drive. They said I should try the accelerator. That was fast. So this, I think, does 0 to 60 in about 3.9 seconds in the 4-wheel drive version. And wow, this is lovely. This feels super luxurious, quiet, smooth. I'm really very impressed, and it feels solid. I have driven electric cars here in China before, which feel a little bit tinny, but this feels really well put together. Oh, that was a wheel spin. Sorry. But yeah, this is fantastic. I've got a massive screen here. I've got lovely speakers, Dirac speakers, not heard of that. And this is the fully, you know, top of the range one. Brembo brakes, you know, the 3.9 seconds. It's got the big battery. This is very, very nice. I'm just taking it for a little drive around. We're actually following the Tang, which is what we're going to drive later, and that's the SUV version. So if we take it for a little spin around, wow, look at that. Wow, this feels, I'm actually very impressed. So I've driven a BYD before, which is one of the old work versions, and it doesn't feel anything like this at all. This feels incredible. I have what you can only be described in here as acres of legroom. I'm surrounded by this red leather. It's like a red leather sofa in a club or something, but it does feel very comfortable. Aerated leather down here. It's all perforated and bobbly, and I'm actually sitting quite a long way back, so it's supremely comfortable. I'm treated to a lot of features back here. Often when I get into the back of these EVs, it's like all the features are packed in the front, but there's nothing back here. I've actually got an LED or LCD screen here to control my own climate. I've got real wood in the door, and I've got proper metal window opening buttons down here. You know, they've really thought about every single detail in here. I'm not such a fan of the red leather, not to my taste, although they do match my shoes today. But you know, this really does become a proper, comfortable, long distance driver, you know, especially with the battery range of over 600 kilometers. All right, so now I'm going to do something completely oikish, and we're doing this on private roads. There's no people around, but we're going to try and do a wheel spin and then test the acceleration. Okay, you ready? So let's see how we do. Oh, wheel spinning, still wheel spinning. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh my word, good job it's got those Brembo brakes, because that was very fast. I mean, 0 to 60 times ultimately are very pointless. But when you do experience it, oh, gets your heart going, and it's very exciting. Good way to show people who perhaps think electric cars aren't very good, just how good they actually can be. So this car here is quite special, because this is a car that you and I cannot buy, okay? So this is a D1. Now, in China, like many other countries around the world, they have private taxi services which have really taken over. So UK, Europe and America, we've got Uber, Lyft, all of those companies. In China, you have Didi. Now, this is a car developed in association with Didi, and it's super practical, and it's just built for that one function, which is ride sharing, picking up passengers, and it's got some really nifty features which will only fit for such a car and with such a company. I love the colour as well, it's very minty and fresh. Anyway, let's have a quick look around this and see what unique features there are. But first of all, we have to start with this, the ride-hailing light in the front. So if you're calling it on your phone, you can actually select the colour that you want this to be, so you know it's your taxi. So if your favourite colour is purple, you can say, right, I want my taxi to be purple. So in a sea of all the other D1s, you can find your taxi very easily. A very smart trick, I think. So in here I've got some features unique only to taxis, and unique only to this type of taxi. So on the steering wheel there's this D button, which stands for Didi. It's the same colour as the logo. You press that and it will start searching for a new customer for you. So if you just start your shift, all you have to do is press that, done. Now this actually has the BYD Blade battery as well. So that's for safety, durability, you know, longevity as well. It's only got 136 horsepower. And the range I think is about 330 kilometers. So, you know, for the taxi route, for like Shenzhen taxis or any city's taxis, this is ideal. This is all about practicality, and I love how the engineers have gone about and thought about, okay, what's the most practical thing? This is exactly what, well, taxis should be, and all city cars should be. They've just focused on the essentials. I don't need the biggest screen, you know, I don't need the 0 to 60 time, I don't need X, Y and Z. This focuses on the features that you need in a car and an electric car, and that's why I absolutely love it. And I'm gutted that you can't actually buy it. You know, this is only for commercial use. It's actually a commercial vehicle, in fact. So the back of the D1 actually has quite a cavernous boot, as you'd expect for a taxi, essentially. And it's quite deep and it's quite tall. You could probably fit some full-size suitcases in here for the 4 people or the 4 passengers who can fit in here. It's got little cubby holes, and it's actually very practical. Now, I'm not spoilt with features in here, but you don't need that in a taxi. I've got my cup holder, very durable and hard wearing, a couple of mobile phone chargers, and another cup holder on that side. Do have some air conditioning, button for the window. I'm actually quite surprised at how comfortable it is. One other very interesting and neat feature, 2 in fact, is one is an armrest. Every taxi needs an armrest. And the other is this lunch box. You know, drivers do, you know, they need their water, they need their snacks, and they've actually provided that here with this cavernous lunch box. So I think that's quite a cool built-in feature. So this is the cab section of the T5. As you can see, it's quite modern. They're actually carrying over some of the design language from the cars. Now the cargo box in the rear is about 4 meters long by about 2 meters wide, so pretty decent carrying capacity, and I think it gets to about 4,500 kilograms for the total overall weight of the truck. Let's go. Right, big thick chunky door. Right, let's go take this for a little spin around the block. I haven't been given any instructions on how this works. So it's got a brake pedal, an accelerator pedal, spinny dial here, which is currently in neutral, so I put it in drive, foot off the brake, handbrake's off, window up. Oh, there's something coming. Oh, this is quite cool. And then we take the foot off. Oh, it's so quiet in here. There's no sound at all. BYD are trying to get into every aspect of transportation, and you know, they have to be, you know, in trucks, small trucks, big trucks. And I know that things like the Postal Service use this, and I think they've actually adjusted this for the American Postal Service so you can step in and out very easily. But the fact that I can get in this and just drive it straight away with no training, no one's told me what to do, and just go, just shows you how easy electric vehicles are in terms of adoption. I think that most drivers would be very happy driving this. Normally when I give you statistics about boot space, they're usually in the litres. This has a cubic metre capacity, 16 cubic metres in here. I'm going to actually open it up and show you. Now, postal companies use this, refrigerated companies use this. Look at that, it's massive. Loads of stuff in there. Right, so you join me in the Tang SUV. Now, this is fully EV. The model I've driven before was the hybrid, but this is the first time I've driven the EV version. So I'm just going to take it slowly while I have a little chat with you, and then we'll give it the beans and see what it's got. According to the specs, it's quite good. Now, this is the one that's going to be sold in Norway from this year. So I think this summer, these EVs will be going over to Norway. In fact, some of the ones we saw in the production line today are probably some of those ones which are going there. Now, this does have impressive statistics, including the price here in China. Price here in China, I think, is about 280,000 RMB, or about 300 to about 301,000 RMB. And so this is their top of the range SUV. It has a 180 kilowatt motor in the front and a 200 kilowatt motor in the back. Okay, and with that, it accelerates from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. So again, very rapid for such a massive beast of an SUV. This does come with 7 seats as well, so extremely practical. But let's see what it's actually like to drive a bit more aggressively than I am now. Now, I'm spoilt by tech in here as usual. I've got a screen which swivels around. You can have it portrait or landscape mode. Quite clear dashboard in front of me. The buttons down here are a little bit plasticky and squidgy. I didn't really like them, but some of the buttons are made out of metal, so that kind of makes up for it. The knob for selection is kind of like a forward and backwards kind of automatic gear. I don't really like it that much. I much prefer the spinny button or something on the stalk here. That's probably something which lets it down slightly for me. But to be honest, it's quite a minor quibble in this car. And I mean, in terms of, you know, handling, a little bit vague, a little bit wafty, but then I'm not going to be racing this car, so it doesn't really matter. I do like the look of these cars. They've improved massively since the older versions. And to see these going around Europe soon will be very, very welcome sight, I think. So the double decker is actually mostly for tourist use, which is why it's got these massive glass screens above me, and I've got lots of glass all around. Now, this is obviously the best place to be in a double decker. I remember being a kid, rushing up the stairs, going to the front. This is where you want to be. Now, you know, I'm 6 foot and I can stand up in here. I've got about an inch of space above my head, but that's pretty good, that I can just walk around in here without any problems. And as you can see, it's very spacious. Lots of big leather comfy seats for your tourist activities when you're sightseeing around a city. So behind me we have the B10 bus, which is the 10-meter long electric bus. Now let's have a quick ride on this to see what this is like to drive. So the B10 bus actually has a really unique feature, and you can probably hear it over my voice, so you can hear the air conditioning going. But this actually can fully ventilate the inside in about 10 minutes. So if the pollution is terrible outside, which sometimes it is here, the air inside can be fully cleaned within 10 minutes, which is incredible, and another great feature of the bus. So the bus, similar stats to the other one, 355 kilowatt hour battery, charging time of about 1.5 to 5 hours to fully charged, and fits around 60 to 70 passengers on it. And these already are in a lot of countries. I've heard they're in Sweden, they're in Canada, so they're working very cold locations as well. Performance is fine. So why not have these in every city now? Get on with it. What BYD have done in the past few years is simply staggering. They've only been around since 1995, and in the last 25-30 years, my mind has been blown by what they've achieved. Batteries, solar panels, cars, trucks, the whole lot. So I hope you've really enjoyed this factory tour today and a look around BYD. If you like this, we've got plenty of other content coming from China. We've got Patreon, YouTube memberships, the whole lot. And if you have been, thank you for watching.